Good morning. My name is Carolyn Hantz, and I help women of color in the federal government who feel stuck, unseen, and undervalued, but are still deeply committed to federal service. I help them rise into senior executive roles. So let me start with a question. How many of you know what it feels like to give your absolute best, to exceed expectations, to be the one people rely on, and still feel overlooked? Yes, I see you. So let me say something that is true, but not often said out loud. Delivering outstanding results does not guarantee you will be seen as ready for top leadership. And if you are a woman of color over 40, you don't just understand that, you've lived it. You may be over-delivering, checking every box, and still feeling stuck. But today we disrupt that because this is about the real journey to executive leadership, one that requires intention, strategy, and a decision. Now here's the reality. The senior executive service represents less than 1% of the federal workforce. Actually, 0.4% of the federal workforce. These are the leaders who shape programs, drive policy, and serve as the bridge between presidential appointees and career civil servants. And I need you to hear me clearly, that you can be a part of that bridge. I know that not because I read it, but because I lived it. I spent 46 years in federal service across 8 presidential administrations, 16 of those years in the senior executive service. But I didn't start there. I started as a college freshman who just needed to pay her tuition. So I started as an entry-level secretary. And over time, I grew into roles as an auditor and evaluator across multiple agencies. But my defining moment came during one of the hardest seasons of my life. Less than a year after losing my spouse to cancer, after a 3.5-year battle, I was a single mother of 2 young children, one about to turn 8 and the other about to turn 10, one of whom has a neurodevelopmental disability. I was selected into senior executive service. That was my first mountain. And now I'm climbing my second mountain to make sure you do not have to climb your mountain alone. So let's talk about what it really takes. First, you need to understand and close your experience gaps. Are you excellent at your job? Yes, I'm certain that you are. But here's the real question. Are you excellent where you are or preparing for where you say you want to be? That's different. Too many high performers wait to be noticed, to be tapped, and to be chosen. Do not do that. Keeping your head down is not a strategy. Ask yourself, where am I strong? Where are my experience gaps? And what am I doing to close those experience gaps? Because gaps do not close themselves. You close your experience gaps. And sometimes you have to create your own opportunity. One of my favorite quotes from Shirley Chisholm is, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Say that with me. Bring a folding chair. That means you figure out how to show up, how to contribute, how to be seen, even when you weren't invited to the table. Secondly, you have to build strategic relationships, not surface-level connections, strategic relationships. My agency once faced a critical external review. The reviewer called our operations a train wreck waiting to happen. Leadership debated it. I did something different. I had already created a corrective action plan even before the report was issued. So when the conversation started, I didn't argue. I added value, and that changed how I was seen. Here's the shift. Stop asking for jobs. Start asking for advice. After not being selected for a senior role, I asked for real feedback. The next time I applied, I was selected. That took courage. My favorite acronym for fear is face everything and respond. Say that with me. Face everything and respond. Thirdly, you have to be visible in the rooms that matter. Executives do not wait. They position themselves. Early in my career, I made a decision. I would speak, serve, and engage beyond my role. Then an opportunity came, a detail to the Government Accountability Office. Within days, I was working at the highest levels, engaging national leaders, state and local leaders, academia, and leaders in the private sector. That moment elevated my trajectory, not because I waited, but because I was ready. My mother used to always say, luck is when opportunity meets with preparation, and I was prepared when the opportunity presented itself. Finally, you have to make the mindset shift. Strategy without belief will only take you so far. You must believe, even when you are the only woman in the room or the only minority in the room. You belong there. And this is where the story of Esther speaks volumes to me. Mordecai, Esther's cousin, asked her, "Who knows whether you will come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Esther had influence, but she hesitated because stepping forward was risky, and Mordecai challenged her. Silence would not protect her. Avoidance would not save her. She had been positioned not for comfort, but for purpose. And when she chose courage over fear, faced everything, and responded, she changed the outcome for an entire people. Her movement required courage, and so does yours. So if you've been waiting, questioning, holding back, hear me clearly. This is your moment. Assess your readiness, close your experience gaps, build strategic relationships, and step into the right rooms. And most importantly, choose yourself. Because advancement is not about being chosen. It's about choosing yourself. Now I want you to sit with this. What feels clearest right now is that your rise to executive leadership does not depend on permission. It depends on your decision to act with clarity, with courage, and with purpose for such a time as this. And the only question left is, what will you do next?